Hello, my gorgeous divas. Today is a video I've been meaning to make for a long time. How can I talk about books on my channel and not talk about what I consider to be my favorite book? That's a bird! If you're new to this channel, this is a book series where I am rereading a list of books that I put as my favorite books back in 2017 when I was around 17, 18 years old. The challenge is just to reread them and see if I still consider them to be my favorites almost 10 years on. And for the second book, I chose The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which, strangely enough, I didn't really talk about all that much in the original video. This is the original copy, the one all the way back when I first bought this book. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about this one. What a big thing to be talking about for me. I made this book essentially my entire personality when I was 17 years old. For context, I studied English Lit for A-level, and this book was actually recommended to me by my English teacher. Very iconic of her, I shall say. She is one of those iconic English teachers who seeks out all the gay people and is like, "You're mine now." This book actually became an option to choose for some coursework for A-levels, and I ended up doing that on this book. And it has such a history to me because not only did I base my A-level coursework on essentially rewriting a scene from this book from Achilles' perspective, but this was the piece of work that then ended up getting me into university. It was a piece that I submitted and they liked it enough that I got in. So this book feels like it influenced the end of my school years and the beginning of my university years. It has a lot of a meaning to me. Strangely enough though, outside of those original perhaps 2 years where I was reading this book, I don't think I've picked it up and sat down to properly reread it until today. My cat has just walked in. He's very distracting. Hi! What was that? Oh, just dropped the book. Aw, he's butting his head against it. I have cat hair on my mic. We'll see if he jumps up and decides to make an appearance in this video. Hello, I just want to quickly interrupt as a secret editing Jace. I realised that I did not go into any depth whatsoever about the plot of the book. I just went straight into my review. So for those of you who don't know anything about the Song of Achilles, this essentially follows Patroclus, who is a character from Homer's Iliad. I also just want to apologise because I think I've been saying Patroclus' name wrong incorrectly by the British pronunciation, at least for my entire life that I've known this book. I only just realised that apparently you say it in a different way. Patroclus. That's just not right to me. I'm going to continue saying Patroclus because that's what feels good in my bones. But yeah, this is a retelling of the Trojan War. This is not a modern retelling of the Trojan War, very much set in the same time period, but it's told from the perspective of Patroclus. And in particular kind of follows his relationship with Achilles, spanning from their childhood together through to them training together and all the way through to the Trojan War. If you are into ancient Greece and the Iliad, I think it's a pretty good book. But yeah, that is a brief overview and apology for the way that I say Patroclus. Patroclus. I'll see you later. Rereading this book was an absolute pleasure. It was so fun. It was quite emotional. Did not cry the second time round, so that was something to be noted, I suppose. When you know what's coming to hit you, you can mentally prepare yourself a bit better for this book. So yeah, me and this book have a lot of history. I still don't think there's really a cover US or UK based that I like of this book. Like, this one's okay. I like it because I associate it with the book and my time reading this book, but objectively, it is not the prettiest book cover to exist. And this copy was not tabbed before I went and reread it. I tabbed this time around and color-coded it. My color codes were beautiful descriptive writing / characterization, and then the goldy yellow ones were ones that I wanted to mark where Patroclus' name was mentioned, because that was something that got me a lot when I was first reading this book, how Patroclus describes Achilles saying his name. And the green is for romance / love, like these really gorgeous depictions of love and romance that Madeline Miller really successfully does throughout this book. To get to it, this book remains a 5-star for me. It is Mr. Gizmo's in the corner! He's looking so ominous. This book absolutely stands the test of time, without a doubt. I can't imagine not wanting to recommend this book to anyone, maybe aside from like violently homophobic people. I don't know. I think it is timeless. I think it is beautiful. I think it is really well crafted. And Madeline Miller knows what she's doing. She knows what she does, and she does it fucking well. I mentioned this in my City of Bones book review, but that feeling of like nostalgia and like it feels like muscle memory when you open and read a book that you read when you were younger and you haven't read in a few years, and you see the beginning of a passage and you're just thinking, oh my god, I remember this section, I remember the way I felt when I read this. The Song of Achilles just absolutely transported me back to my 17-year-old self. I can't remember how old exactly I was when I first read this book, and you're sat there thinking, how could I have ever forgotten that sentence, that passage, that paragraph? Like, these things stick with you. The way that she writes is just gorgeous all the way around. And what Madeline Miller does so successfully is capture that feeling of young romantic love, particularly when you're around 16 years old. And that's the time period that I read this myself. So naturally I'm sat there thinking, she's writing about characters that are the same age as me, and she just gets it so right. And that is the timeless energy about it, I think, where she's writing about ancient Greece, and there are still so many elements that you can recognize within yourself and your emotions and your daily life. I don't know what I can say about this book that other people haven't already said. Like, the easiest way to review this book is to tell you to just go and read it yourself. So my main thoughts and comments that I wrote when I was reading this book is that Madeline Miller's writing just truly stands the test of time. Like, it is beautiful. The lyricism in her writing, the use of color symbolism, it feels so simplistic but so beautiful at the same time. Like, I think her writing is incredibly accessible. You don't need to know a lot about ancient Greece, you don't need to know a lot about mythology, you don't need to know a lot of words to understand what she's writing and what she's trying to convey in her words. The passages are just emotive and beautiful. You feel all this like young love and this passion and this pain, and also her depictions of war are just very brutal and gory, but so real of the time. War is not a beautiful thing, but she often writes it in a way that is just so beautifully crafted. I'd say it's her craft that makes it beautiful. If we're talking about nowadays, I'd say particularly in the last 5 years or so, there was a huge boom in mythical fiction, feminist retellings in particular of mythical fiction. I consider Madeline Miller to probably be the best of the best when it comes to these. I've read a few here in between, some of them feminist retellings, some of them not. But what I think Miller does really well in comparison to these books and the recent boom is that her stories do not just feel like straight retellings of these myths. She's not too focused on retelling the story or portraying the characters a certain way. Her characters feel real. I think there's two ways that you can go when it comes to mythic fiction. You could either go where you're so intent on retelling a story that it reads very dryly, it reads like the same story rather than its own novel with its own soul and its touch and its author's edge to it, right? Like, it just is. It's very cut and dry. As a reader, you don't feel like you've gained much from it. For example, Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. I did not feel like I gained much from this book. I read this last year, I think, maybe the beginning of this year for the first time, and I was just disappointed and was just thinking I'd rather be reading a Madeline Miller book. Perhaps that comparison is not very fair. They're two very different myths, two different tales. It was just not my bag. I felt like, what am I gaining from this story that I could not get from just reading the original myth, you know? And then you have the other direction that authors go, where they try to almost humanize these characters to a point or make it their own story so much that it feels almost anachronistic. They feel too current. You feel like they've plucked these characters out of ancient myths and ended up putting them into like this romantic fiction genre that does not suit them. I feel like Madeline Miller, her success is her ability to humanize these characters that we know from ancient myths, but not to the point where we feel like they're misplaced in their timeline. Even when it comes to the deities, for example, you understand their motives, you understand their emotions, you can see why everyone is doing what they're doing for the most part. Even if these decisions are stupid, you understand all of this and it feels very grounded in reality while still remaining true to the original myth. She just does this seemingly so effortlessly. I think my favorite section of the book is probably when Achilles and Patroclus go to stay in the caves and the wilderness with Chiron. I just remember that segment so clearly, and reading it again felt like a warm hug. Rereading the book now, I'm like, wow, I did not pay way enough attention to Thetis as a character. So interesting, so tragic. Go into this expecting tears if you somehow haven't already been spoiled about the ending of the Song of Achilles. I mean, it's the Iliad. Whatever, some people don't know the Iliad. I don't know. I certainly did not know. But yeah, as a piece of fiction, beautiful, gorgeous, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. No notes other than, yay! There was a wildness in me of hope and terror. Oh my god. A lovely reread to have compared to my first book, Sea of Bones. Like, it was a pleasure to read. I took my time with it. I could have absolutely zoomed through this book, but I was like, no, I want to take the time, I want to give it the time that it deserves. But yeah, if you've read The Song of Achilles, which I'm sure most people on this website who are interested in books have, let me know what you think, if you agree, if you disagree, if there are any other books within this genre, more along the lines of Madeline Miller, that you would recommend. Please do let me know. I believe the only other mythic fiction book that I have on my TBR is, where is it? Is The Science of the Girls by Pat Barker. I don't know if this is just going to be another Ariadne to me. I've heard pretty good things about The Silence of the Girls, but I also heard pretty good things about Ariadne, and that one was just not for me. Yeah, thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.